going on, guys? What is happening? Welcome to TPL Live. The Sixers made a huge trade today, just going down now. Here is the deal per Woj. The Brooklyn Nets are trading James Harden to the Philadelphia 76ers for Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 future first-round picks. No Tyrese Maxey, no Matisse Thybulle. Let's freaking go. Joining us, I've got my man. He is JB at J Blevins NBA. What's going on, Jason?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Oh, man, to talk about one of the most stressful days in a long time for Sixers fans.
I could feel how stressed you guys were. And I was like, don't stress. Just think about it. This is happening.
It happened. All right.
They really wanted Drummond, huh? That's surprising to me.
Looks like Paul Millsap is also in this deal.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I like that.
All right, Jason, real quick grades, man. Quick grades. How would you grade this deal?
I think it's just the deal you have to have, right? So, I mean, this team, what are they, 31 and 21? They just added James Harden to a team that's 31 and 21 and a couple of games out of first place in the East. So, how can you not like that? You know, I've said since I don't know, training camp, maybe early in the season, Seth Curry would never be more valuable as an asset than he is right now. So I think, you know, just think about this, really. If you really just look at the playoff series in Atlanta, and if you had a James Harden in that series, with that team, and essentially that's what you've got right now. If you try to put him in that series instead of Ben Simmons and Seth Curry, how many things that happen don't happen?
Yep.
The 24-point blown lead, the Kevin Huerter exploiting your defensive liabilities, like all kinds of things. It's great. It's just a no-brainer. It had to happen.
Yep. What about you, Mark? Quick reactions to the trade.
A++++++++. I mean, I was willing to do whatever it took. And for me, the fact that you're giving up 2 first-round picks means nothing, because when you're trading for a 32-year-old in James Harden, this year is the most important year. Even more than next year, even more than the year after. This next 3-4 months with Joel Embiid healthy, playing at an MVP level, with James Harden healthy, with Tyrese Maxey healthy and developing, keeping Matisse Thybulle. The fact that you were able to keep both building blocks in Tyrese Maxey and Matisse Thybulle alongside Joel Embiid and bring in James Harden, I think it's going to make Tobias Harris a lot less frustrating. I think it's going to cover up a lot of the problems with this team late in games and offensively. It could not be, I don't want to be just a homer and sit here and fawn all over it. Build the Daryl Morey statue outside the Wells Fargo Center. I think a lot of people need to apologize for how they talked about how Daryl was handling this situation. People that wanted to take Malcolm Brogdon, CJ McCollum, Tyrese Halliburton. People really wanted to do these packages. We just got James Harden. And James Harden in a down year, who people are saying, oh, he's aging poorly and he's in a down year. He's averaging 23 and 10.5 and 8. 23, 10.5 and 8 is a down year for the guy that we just got. He's one of the 3 best scorers I've seen in my lifetime. I think he's the best guard that's ever put on a Sixers uniform, in my opinion. I think you look at James Harden's career, I'd put that over Allen Iverson's, in my personal opinion. You look at those 67-win Rocket teams. I think James Harden in that era is better than any era of Allen Iverson. I think James Harden is a no-brainer, and we talked about this yesterday in the chat yesterday off air. We agreed that James Harden might be the best fit in the league for Joel Embiid.
Absolutely.
We did. I talked myself into a couple of other players you brought up, but it's a very short list of just stylistic fits. I will say you should, Dibes, you should have a show, maybe in the summertime, just dedicated around the conversation of AI versus Harden, because. Mark, it's not that I disagree with you. I think one thing is as a product, an entertainment product, Allen Iverson was probably the best entertainment product we've ever had in the city. You know, maybe Randall Cunningham, maybe Joel Embiid. It's like those are the three. James Harden is ruthlessly efficient in the way he approaches a game. It is ruthlessly effective. I'm not sure it's the great entertainment product that Allen Iverson gave, but that can be a different day. Yeah. My hamstrings suddenly feel better, by the way. I don't know. I was really sore. I was in the gym the other day and I woke up like really, really tight. Suddenly my hamstrings are feeling fine.
Let's go to some comments real quick. Quentin Moore says Andre Drummond will be missed, man. That was a great signing. He had some major moments this season so far. Quentin says Brick Curry, not so much. 2 first-round picks. Marky Mark thinks the Sixers gave up too much.
What are we doing?
That's the definition of a good trade.
It's not.
Hey, send that one to the Brooklyn Nets podcast.
Here? I don't know about this guy. I agree. Like, if you're looking like 5-6 years down the line, I might agree with that. But you're looking at, optimizing Joel Embiid right freaking now. And that is what it matters. Like, I agree, guys. Like, heading into this season, everything that went down with Ben Simmons, it was a hot mess. It was never about this year. It was made pretty clear. But Joel Embiid flipped that 180 by having one of the best seasons in Sixers history. And now you've got a guy. And how many times have we done post-game shows like saying, Joel needs help, Joel needs help, Joel needs help? Here you've got a guy now that can truly dominate with the ball in his hands. You've got a shot creator. You've got a guy that has immense gravity offensively that's just going to do unbelievable things for Joel Embiid offensively. These two are going to be just amazing to watch together. And the fact that you did not give up Tyrese Maxey or Matisse Thybulle, man, is an absolute win. I grade this an A++++. The Sixers are back because we were talking like pretty much the majority of the season. Nobody really cared until this ball dropped. No one was kind of like, we were kind of just in waiting mode. Like everyone was just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And sure enough, the Sixers got it done without giving two of the top two guys here. I will miss Seth Curry. Jason, what's your take on the Seth Curry loss for this roster? Because you look at, Furkan Korkmaz, he ain't getting it done shooting wise. You're removing one of the best shooters in the league. You're taking that off this roster, but he hasn't been shooting well over the last 20 games or so. What's your take on Seth Curry?
I mean, Seth's his mechanics are such like, okay, he wasn't shooting well for 20 games, but like he's going to be a good shooter and he's dangerous. But just like JJ Redick, it's the type of person that if you rely on them as a starter, will get you bounced in a playoff series if you just run into the wrong matchup that will switch them to death until they can just put up nights. The Herder and Bog thing was just like, that's your like death scenario for having a guy like him that you rely on too much. And the Sixers were in that position last year. I would have liked to have kept him because if you didn't have to include him, then you move him to the bench role, and now he's like immensely valuable for you.
Yeah.
But that's what you have to do to get the top 5 type players in the league. Listen, if you can get a top 5 player in the league and you already have one, and they play opposite ends of your lineup, like there is no scenario where that's not a good deal. But they just got a top 5 player at both the 1 and the 5 on their roster now. It was the number one need on this roster. We've been banging our heads against the wall. They don't have a ball handler on this roster. You just witnessed 50 games of Furkan Korkmaz as your ball handler. Come on, guys. Like, this is a major deal for the Sixers. Not only just that, but also for lineups. How many times have I been screaming, stagger those minutes, stagger. It was Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. And, pretty much just Tobias Harris on that second unit. It was not working. The Sixers
bench unit. It was 27th in scoring in the league. Now that's going to help in so many different ways. There is a trickle-down effect with this trade. And I don't know if Daryl Morey's done moving, but, they still need to add spot-up shooters to this roster. They still need to find more athletic defenders to this roster, I think. But what about you, Mark? Any thoughts on that and other thoughts in general?
I think this could help Tobias Harris more than anyone else on the team, making Tobias Harris a third option offensively as opposed to a second option. I also think it makes, people like me, analytic nerds, always point out the lack of threes from Tobias and always point out his unwillingness to shoot threes and how, it really would open up the offense. When you have a volume 3-point shooter in James Harden, who you have to respect in terms of his ability to penetrate as well and get to the line, it's going to open things up so much for Tobias Harris. And you just think of a starting lineup of Maxey, Harden, Thibault, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid. And I also think for Matisse Thybulle, it makes kind of his net negative on offense, his impact on offense, which isn't much at all. I think it really decreases the importance of that. I think you can put him out there almost as just a full-time defensive player, and you can hide him a lot more, a lot easier. My questions, I can't stay on here for too long, but my question would be, as someone who, while we're sitting here, just bought tickets to tomorrow night's game, are we expecting to see Harden play tomorrow? Probably not, but it'll probably still be fun.
Listen,
Jason, are you ready to go?
If my hamstrings are any indication, my hamstrings were so tight this morning, and now they're feeling fine. So I think there's a chance he plays tomorrow. I do. It would be a miraculous recovery for sure. But my hammies are feeling good. So I think there's a chance. I see Marky Mark asking about the buyout market, and Dives, to your point. So I think a lot of the stuff that you very rightly called out in things they needed, I think they held back on, because when you went through that Sixers roster, everyone was kind of an asset. Everyone on that roster, with the exception of Maxey over the last 2 months and Joel Embiid, had that right fit of being potential piece in a trade. And I don't think they could go out and make a trade over the last 2 months to just win some games that might have removed pieces from remove trade chips from the arsenal for Morey to be able to make this deal. When I went through today and I actually just looked at how many different ways could a trade go down, there were dozens of different ways it could have gone down, like literally dozens of different combinations. And I think that's a credit to Daryl Morey being able to create and maintain optionality, like extreme optionality. This trade to me was absolutely going to happen. I think it was pretty clear yesterday. I went on record like there's no way that the Nets have any real leverage here. Like, yeah. And then today I just dove into how many different ways could it work, and there was just so many different ways. Mm-hmm. I will say with the Tobias Harris, I'm not sure you can get away with so many ball stoppers. Harden is a ball stopper. Tobias Harris is a ball stopper. That's going to be a challenge. I think that might be something people complain about.
Does Tobias Harris shoot enough from three to be a fit alongside Embiid and James Harden?
He doesn't stay in the and there's still 90 minutes left, but I don't think he consistently stays in the catch and shoot rhythm where you can just say he's a great fit. Like, yes, he's a 3-4, so he sort of sits in between that 1-5 magical combination. I don't know if he's stylistically a perfect fit for James Harden.
So we think Matisse is a better fit. Tobias Harris is even less than a fit next to Joel Embiid. Real quick, I want to break down what is going on with Woj, and then I'm going to get into some comments here. So the Nets will get the Sixers 2022 first-round pick unprotected with a right to defer until 2023 and a 2027 first-round pick unprotected 1 through 8. Sources tell ESPN. The 2027 pick will roll over to 2028, protected 1 to 8 again.
Great deal for them. That is exactly how the Nets should have done this. That's essentially a reverse protection. So that is essentially it's a reverse protection, right? If the Sixers are the 30th pick, they get to punt and move to the next year and hope things implode and that becomes an 18th pick or a 14th pick. If everything goes wrong, it might be a more valuable pick down the road. So putting that reverse protection on it is really creative move. These are professionals that negotiated this. This is Vlade Divac was not involved in this thing. And you can tell by that, right?
I love it. Harden, Maxey, Green. For me, Harden, Maxey, Thibault, Tobias, Embiid. Can that lineup win a championship? And then we'll go to more comments. Any yes or no, Jason?
They're going to add in the buyout market.
Love it.
They have such a now story to tell and to sell, and they still have 90 minutes. They can now pull the trigger on other secondary deals that they probably had frameworks for but couldn't execute because those pieces might have been involved in this deal. So I expect
we need spot up shooters. You got to get spot up shooters around this roster. That is definitely priority one as of now. RJ Lucas says we're going down Broad Street, I think. I would guess. Quentin says, let's go. Harden likes to pass. We got Harden says YouTube. Troy one says, who do we get back in return? Was there a center that came with Harden? Paul Millsap. No Patty Mills, although that was the name that I like. Paul Millsap and James Harden to the Sixers for Ben, for Seth, and 2 first-round picks with a lot of protections and things. I can get a Harden jersey. Jason, are you concerned at all about Harden's kind of physical status? Like, he's missing a lot of games right now this season. Is that a concern?
I mean, no, it's not.
This is about.
Are you asking me to say he's injury prone or he's a liar? I'm not. Next question, please.
Rob Smith says Embiid and Harden is the best Sixers duo since Dr. J and Moses. It's got to be. It's got it. Like who? Like what? AI didn't have anybody. What?
No, this is a better combination than that, though. This is a better 1-2 than that.
Yeah, no one. AI's never played with anyone remotely close to James Harden. Charles Barkley, Moses, I guess. Marky Mark says, I think we can get a backup center or power forward in the buyout market.
And so does Daryl Morey, by the way. He plays this game of chess because I think he loves stretch fours, and I think Doc wants backup bigs. And this is 2 years in a row where Daryl has traded away your backup, I guess your third center last year, but basically left Doc with very little competent center minutes behind Joel Embiid. Twice in a row. So I'm not sure Doc's super happy about that.
Remember last year in the playoffs, that Hawks series, like it was either Seth Curry or Joel Embiid, and no one scored the goddamn ball. No one. That changes everything. Boston Superfan says, what do you think the Phillies starting lineup is? For me, Harden, Maxey. I think Maxey and Harden are going to be a solid backcourt. What are your thoughts on that duo, Jason?
If I was I'm looking at the standings. That's where my head is at right now. If I'm the Hawks and if I am Daryl Morey, am I trying to throw a kitchen sink at the Hawks to get one of their shooters, Bogdanovich, or I need to look at Herder's real health situation.
Yeah.
But I just think it's so hard to we're going to know in the next few weeks, probably 2 weeks. I think you can just slot in a buyout player who's going to look at that Bellinelli year, the Ilyasova year.
Yeah.
And if you were to say at the trade deadline, what was that starting lineup going to look like? Then versus 2 weeks from then it's just hard.
that's kind of what I hope happens here is that Seth Curry is now off the roster. You're not going to see the two-man game between Seth and Joel Embiid. You're going to see a lot more Harden, but hopefully that puts Maxey. I don't think it's going to affect his development. I think you're going to see him get some time running that second unit, and you're going to see a lot more production out of the bench. So that's how I expect this to go. I'm not saying Maxey will be, starting off the bench. I think he's going to be in this starting lineup, but I think you're going to see a lot more minutes staggered here, which is significant because that's been an issue for Doc over this last stretch here. Is the all bench lineups and all that kind of stuff. I think there's a trickle down effect. That this is going to really positively help the Sixers offense.
Yeah. I don't think they have enough time to pull it off, but if they did, and if they've worked on it, some crazy deal around Tobias Harrison and Julius Randle would really put that architecture together for them.
Mm-hmm.
I know he wants out.
Hold on. ESPN just tweeted this. Starting lineup for the Nets: Irving, Seth Curry, Durant, Ben Simmons, and Aldridge. And then we get to the Sixers: Harden, Maxey, Danny Green starting, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid. Any thoughts on Danny Green starting over Matisse Thybulle?
I think I agree because what you need is that corner camper as an outlet for Harden. So the way that Harden and Maxey play, the outlet, one of the big outlets is in the corner, and Danny Green is much more effective there than Thybulle. Thybulle's done some nice things, learning how to cut off of that double team when the baseline defender doubles Embiid. But I think Green is probably your guy, and you can score 130 a game that way.
Danny Green is shooting 41.3% from three in the catch and shoot this season. But over the last, 10 games, he's been playing very well, playing much better, shooting the basketball. My thing is loading.
But even more so from the corner. It's just that is his money right there. And now you can let him just focus on that.
Yeah. Rob says, I love Seth, but his defense killed us in the playoffs, and he just doesn't shoot enough threes. Yeah, Sixers fans kind of had rose-colored glasses on Seth a little bit. He had an amazing offensive performance in a couple games, but defensively, Kevin Huerter just absolutely killed him. How many players came in and trade? So the Sixers got James Harden and Paul Millsap and gave up 2 future first-round picks, Ben Simmons and Seth Curry here. Marky Mark says Simmons is all of a sudden mentally ready to play in New York. Was there anything said about that? I haven't even noticed. Is Ben ready to come back? He looks like he's not even wanting to play.
To me, I wasn't mentally ready to go on a stream earlier, but then it was crazy. Like right around 1 p.m., I was like, I think I can get on the stream right now. My hamstrings are feeling better, and mentally, I feel ready to stream.
Rob says Maxey plays starting shooting guard and backup point guard. I fully agree with that. And I think this is going to help Maxey just kind of focus on what he does best, going downhill, being a gravity scorer.
And learn from one of the best to ever play that style.
Period. We've seen Maxey grow leaps and bounds in the pick and roll. Like you have probably the best ever to do it right there, right in front of him. He's only 21 years old. That is just something that's going to be really fun to watch. That duo in the backcourt for the Sixers for the next. I'm assuming that the contract extension can't be that far off, right, Jason? Like that's the next shoe to drop.
Yeah, I would think so for sure.
No way Simmons will last in New York.
They're not very tough on their players. They aren't.
They aren't.
They aren't. They just aren't, especially in Brooklyn. They're just not that tough on their players.
Okay.
You know what? You know who I think is the big loser in all this, plus also the big winner? Spike Eskin. I think he gets to now build an entire radio program, an entire radio station, and he's just got locked and loaded every Simmons, how to get the callers to call in to argue about it.
Yeah.
But I think it's actually a much easier market for players than than Philadelphia is, because I think we care so much, and I think Brooklynites like the idea that they have an NBA team, and also they really want to know where they're going for dinner after.
Rob says 10.2 assists per game added to a team with no passing. That is just, yes. I mean, you've been seeing a lot of Korkmaz on ball. You've seen a lot of Seth Curry on ball. I love Tyrese Maxey, but I think there's a trickle-down effect that's going to help this team in so many ways. We've got a shot creator. We've got a playmaker that can get it done with the ball in his hands. Are you guys happy for the trade? For me, we started with this show. It's an A++ trade. You didn't give up Matisse Thybulle. You didn't give up Tyrese Maxey. Who cares about future first-round picks? Joel Embiid needs help, and he's playing possibly the greatest Sixers season in history, franchise history. You've got to get this guy, some help, and it's coming. Do the Sixers offer, or are the Sixers? Oh, you already addressed that. We'll move forward. Lakers. What did Lakers do? I know this. The Celtics just added Derek White in a trade.
The Lakers have now just the big news. They have decided to take yet another contested 19-footer in the lane. Big news on that front.
The Nets will get. Yeah, we already went through that. Thank you for that, Quinn. Thank you. If we're getting Toby the past month, he's great, but that's unrealistic. Yeah. Tobias has been doing a much better job, especially inside 10 feet. The shots are falling. He's getting much more in rhythm, and he's shooting. He's not shooting more, but the shots are falling from 3 100%. Marky Mark says Tobias sits at the 3-point line while you get that Harden pick and roll kick out for Tobias 3. We'll see. Do you think Tobias will be less hesitant to shoot from 3 with James Harden on this roster?
I have to watch what the passing lanes are between the two of them. The way that Harden plays so vertically, top to bottom, where are those outlets? Because Tobias is pretty clear on where he's most comfortable getting the ball. Mm-hmm. Ben Simmons, for all the complaints, was able to get the ball in his outlets, hands where they were comfortable in rhythm. And I need to watch that. I do think one concern I would say with the two of them and Joel Embiid is this is probably going to be the slowest paced team in half-court offense in the league. Like they have 3 guys that are going to chew a lot of clock when they touch the ball, and the Nets have been through that, and but that's probably a good thing for Embiid's endurance and fatigue factor. The fact that they will play at a little bit of a slower pace.
Mo Dog says happy. What's that? No, all right. Happy this happened. Can go back to watching the Sixers without all the Ben hate, man. Dude, it's been a long year and a half. It's been a long year and a half just dealing with the same old thing. That's where I was at into this trade deadline. I'm ready for it to be over with, man. It's been brutal.
Do you remember when I think we were finished the stream and we had stopped streaming, and I was like, dude, he's so gone. And you were like, what are you talking about? I was like, he's so gone. I think it was I don't know, late in the regular season last year, maybe. And you were like, what do you mean? I was like, he's so gone.
Yeah. No, I remember after the playoffs, right? Yeah.
No, way before that.
Okay.
Series. He leaks in the regular season last spring. Remember that?
Wow. Not really.
He left the team for mental health reasons. Yes,
really? Again, it all just blurs together for me. Charles Bassey and Paul Reed ready? We'll see. Do you think Doc's going to play? Yeah, I think Charles Bassey way more likely than Paul Reed at this point.
This is a big day for Charles Bassey, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that's what the Sixers need here. Back up big. Need another shooter. Need another bench player. We are an hour and 12 minutes from the NBA trade deadline, and maybe Morey's got some moves up his sleeve still. We will see. Just awesome, man. What a good day. Mo Dog says have to get rid of Harris now because no idea how this will go. I'll go under the salary cap. I'm not a salary cap guru. But I have to imagine that's got to go down, right? They can't keep both, right?
They can't. They could keep all three. What they would wind up doing is the slots that you're consuming with your Danny Greens and those type of players would then become minimum contract type players, and you're going to be a significant luxury tax team. But it's not like they would be forced to auction him his contract, away. Like it all would fit. It's just a guy like Danny Green is the type of player you wouldn't be able to have a $10 million player on your team. You'd have a bunch of $1.6 million players on your team, which is what the Nets did. The Nets very much were in that situation, right?
Yep.
So they have Blake Griffin, Paul Millsap, not anymore, LaMarcus Aldridge, a lot of those type guys for that vet minimum slot.
I put the poll on our YouTube channel. How would you grade the deal right now? 65% say they give it an A. 25% a B. We've got people giving it an F. How about that?
I mean, who's that person? Let's put that
Jason, what'd you do?
That person in the comments. That would be
I know.
awesome to hear them.
Yeah,
Let's
I love
them
you.
on the stream.
Crack the Code says, I'm very concerned about Harden's physical status. He will turn into Russell Westbrook next year. Harden's really not hurt, though. Terrence Ross, I'd be down. Terrence Ross is an interesting name. There's a scorer, shooter. That would fit really well. Rob
is exactly the type of game that they'd want. I agree entirely.
Nice perimeter score there. Rob Smith says B-Ball Paul needs to come back to the roster. He's playing in Delaware right now. Is Reed the backup? That's definitely Charles Bassey as of now, correct?
Just because of Doc. I mean, I specifically asked Daryl Morey a year ago today on the trade deadline, after the deadline, about that exact question when he traded away Tony Bradley around his philosophy. And it was very clear he tried to force Doc to play Paul Reed as the third string center, and Doc doesn't like him as a center. Doc thinks he's a power forward.
Yeah, I fully agree. Paul Reed's one of those, like, I don't exactly know what position he is, though. Like, I always go back and forth.
And neither do those two. They argue with it. I've literally had in-person conversations about this. Those two disagree on what position he plays. He should play.
Yeah. Crack the Code says he's been overweight for 4 years. He's 32. He drinks a lot. And his numbers are steadily declining. I don't care if he's hurt. Dude, like, you're trading an imperfect player for an imperfect player. I get it. James Harden is a much better basketball player than Ben Simmons. I don't think anybody can debate that. Ben Simmons has his flaws. So does James Harden. But this is about maximizing Joel Embiid for this year, for next year. It is what it is. Any response to that, Jason?
The guy can throw up 50 points, and he did it multiple times last year. And I would have to call him a liar to imply that he wasn't hurt.
Yeah. I mean, here's a stat for you. In 12 games without Kevin Durant, he's averaging 25 plus and 10 plus assists. Like, this is a guy that you could rest Joel Embiid potentially and, just give the ball to James Harden, just clear the fuck out. And, that's something the Sixers haven't had in so long. They haven't had a number two guy like that, that can, put the ball in the basket. So there's that, so, you might be overweight, but he's still getting it done when the ball in his hands. Rob Smith says his numbers are declining from some of the greatest offensive numbers ever. If you can get like 50% of what James Harden was like 2 years ago, like, we're going to the championship, baby. I'm calling it right now. Like,
his numbers this year, while he was clearly unhappy, either with his health or whatever, 22, like you said at the beginning, 22, 10, and 8. So, Yep.
RJ. Oh, RJ says Maxi's going to get to learn from James Harden, which is huge. That's insane. Like Maxi's ability to get downhill and attack at the rim, finish at the rim, with his growth as a shooter, learning under James Harden, man, that's insane. That's an insane idea of what Maxi could potentially look like in like 2 years.
Yeah.
This offseason, just Maxi just learning from the best, and how to kind of use pace, change speeds, get defenders to bite. Like that is going to be a lot of fun to watch. That's a low-key storyline here in this trade.
Yeah, and the thing with Harden that really made him go to the stratosphere as a player was when he added the step back.
Yeah.
So Harden was always a downhill player. In OKC, he could really just attack at multiple levels. But when he developed that ability to step back and force a defender to step forward and then go by them and get downhill, that creates an impossible choice on a defender. And not everybody has the handle to be able to do that, or the shot making ability, or the finishing ability. That's the kind of thing that Maxi, that's the first thing he's going to have to deal with in practice. He's going to see it 50 times a practice, and he's going to have to try to defend it, and he's going to have to learn from it. And that is just going to be huge for him.
Absolutely. Seth was nearly unplayable at the end of games because of his defense. Fully agree. Quinn says need Embiid to roll the basket. He's been getting better. Embiid has definitely shown some progress there this season. Ryan says we need depth, so Murray still has work to do. That's 100% facts. Is this roster still needs to get more athletic? This roster still needs to get some more defenders, spot up shooters. There's a lot of work to be done still, but this is a star-driven league, man. And when you have two of the top talents in the league, the Sixers' chances at a championship have absolutely gone up, no question about it. I mean, you basically had Ben for nothing this year, and you're adding a guy like James Harden, which is a lot of fun. Possibility of Dragic. It sounds like he doesn't want to go to the Sixers, right?
No, I think to me that was I think the reason I threw that into the Discord was, to me, that was the moment where there was zero question this was happening, because the fact that he wasn't mentioned as that one of his destinations in the buyout market meant that they just didn't need his services. So I think that's just off the table. They no longer need that guy. Gotcha.
Let's go. Brick Simmons has to complete his esports obligations before joining the Nets per CNN. Modog says it will be fun to watch Embiid and Harden, but all I have to say, KD, Ben, and Irving with Seth on the outside is going to be pretty awesome to watch. I mean, Ben's a perfect fit for that roster, man.
Perfect fit.
Kind of similar to like Thibault next to like Harden and Embiid. Same thing for Ben, right?
Could not create a better roster for him. You just couldn't.
Yep. Dragic going to Dallas. We should sign LiAngelo Ball to take his spot, shooting 50% from three. Seth knew he was getting traded. He sucked the last couple of games. It's been more than the last couple of games. But, yeah, I like Seth, man. Marky Mark, only concern is Maxi's size as a two guard. Yeah, I mean, I think Maxi has been growing defensively. He's definitely had his moments. What's your quick thoughts on Maxi defensively?
Well, he's not going to be a defensive two guard. He's going to be he's going to defend the point guard. Harden will be the guy you hide on defense, not Maxi.
We have news here. We have some news. As part of the deal, James Harden is opting in to his $47.3 million player option contract for next year. So there you go. Harden is on the books for next year. Everyone expected that. But there it is. Drummond is in the deal. So we're looking at, the Sixers possibly adding in the buyout market a backup center, or Charles Bassey, who I think is fine. Definitely that shot protector that the Sixers need. We're a lot faster, to be honest. I don't know about that one. I don't know about that. I'm copying a Nets Simmons jersey. Oh, my God.
He's perfect for them. He's absolutely perfect for them. That's why I thought that any assertion that there's like a huge like disparity in this was like, of course they want Ben Simmons.
Modog says, really interesting to see how things played out. If Houston would have just accepted a trade for Ben last year, that's interesting.
Yeah, and that was my point about spite. So the only reason this didn't happen a year ago is Tillman Fertitta, the owner of the Houston Rockets, was really angry at Daryl Morey and wasn't going to make a deal with him.
Yeah. RJ says, Harden giving step back secrets to Tyrese Maxey, man. That's we talked about that already. That's going to be insane. How does the lineup look now? It's either Harden, Maxey, Thibault, Toby, Embiid, or Maxey, Harden, Green, Tobias, Embiid. We talked about how Danny Green thrives with the corner three, which is a really good fit with Joel and Embiid in that two-man game. Right, Joe? Right, Jason?
Yep.
Millsap and Drummond was a wash. Quentin Moore says Maxey gives good effort, defense despite his size. Yeah.
He's also wide, he's got wide shoulders, so I we always get hung up on like the listed height, but he's a wide shoulder guy. He's not Seth Curry. He's not JJ Redick. Even though maybe listed height, it may seem that way.
All right, man.
Got a good frame.
Yep. I say we wrap it up, man. We'll be back in an hour. If anything else breaks down, and we'll be surely talking and breaking down about this trade for the next foreseeable future. But thank you so much for joining, Jason. Where can we find you, man?
At the Painted Lines on Twitter. Follow Mr. Crockpot and all of the guys at the Painted Lines, and appreciate everyone who jumped on with us.
Yes, man. Thank you for all the comments, man. Sixers season is back because it was looking a little doom and gloom there if they didn't make a deal. But the deal is done. We can finally breathe. We can finally move on and start talking about how these pieces of the puzzle fit. Still more to be done. But this year, next year, it's going to be a ton of fun for Jason, for myself. Be sure to subscribe. Smash that like button if you love this Philadelphia 76ers. Stay awesome, everybody.